It seems incredible, but the precision of fitting the stone blocks during the construction of the Egyptian pyramids amazes even the most modern engineers. The gaps between them can be less than 1 millimeter. Imagine how the ancient masters, battling the scorching sun of the desert, moved blocks weighing up to 80 tons, using methods that remain a subject of debate to this day. These massive stones were not simply stacked on top of each other. They were aligned with such precision that the orientation of the pyramids towards the cardinal directions is astonishingly perfect, with the angles of the Pyramid of Cheops deviating from the true north by only 0 3/10 of a degree. How did they manage this? One popular theory suggests the use of inclined planes that allowed the blocks to be raised to the required height. But how exactly they built these structures and what materials they used for these constructions remains a mystery. Other researchers propose the use of a system of levers that could have significantly simplified the process of moving such heavy stones. Some even believe that the ancient Egyptians used waterways for transporting the blocks, raising them up the Nile to bring them to the construction site. In such moments, when the sweat runs down the foreheads of thousands of workers and the air is filled with the scent of limestone and sweat, one can imagine an entire army laboring over the construction of the pyramids, while the loud sounds of stone rubbing against stone echo in the desert wind. As the deep shadows cast by the magnificent structures fall on the sand at sunset, the question arises: how grand were the plans of those who created these wonders, and what else does the history of their construction methods still hide? Scientific research continues to reveal new facts, such as the use of a special tool for stone processing that left minimal traces, adding to the intrigue of these developments, which may never be fully understood. Reading such descriptions, one cannot help but wonder, what else is hidden in these ancient manuscripts, waiting to be revealed? Strangely, many of those who dared to disturb the peace of ancient Egyptian tombs encountered horrifying consequences, and the most famous case is the death of Lord Carnarvon, who died just a few months after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. His death, caused by an infection resulting from a bite, led to genuine panic among researchers. Rumors of the curse of the pharaohs spread quickly, claiming that he had suffered the wrath of the spirit of the young pharaoh, who did not want his rest disturbed. But that's not all. Just a few days after Lord Carnarvon, his doctor died, followed by several other members of the expedition. This made people wonder, did the curse have a basis? Some researchers suggest that the cause of the mysterious deaths could have been toxic mold spores that thrived in the musty air of the ancient burial chambers. These spores, which release toxic particles, could cause severe illnesses in people entering such closed spaces after centuries of rest. Imagine the dim light of torches illuminating hieroglyphic warnings on the tomb walls, while the air fills with humidity and an eerie atmosphere, as if each breath could be the last. Entering a tomb untouched for millennia, you feel a growing unease that could be both a psychosomatic effect and a real reaction to hidden poisons sealed in this ancient place. What's even more shocking? Some researchers suggest that the very anticipation of the curse could affect people's health, causing genuine panic attacks. Every sound, every rustle in the tomb's silence could trigger subconscious fears arising from ancient legends. And to this day, mysteries remain unsolved, connected to other expeditions where participants also faced unexplained illnesses and tragic events. Teotihuacan, a vast city that was once one of the most significant in Mesoamerica, remains shrouded in mystery and enigma. Spanning approximately 8 square kilometers, it was designed with such precision that it continues to amaze even contemporary architects. Imagine the Avenue of the Dead, a wide and straight path lined with monumental pyramids, some reaching heights of over 60 meters. The Pyramid of the Sun, majestic and imposing, was built with such precision that during the days of the solar equinox, the sun's rays create an illusion that the pyramid comes to life. Nearby stands the Pyramid of the Moon, slightly smaller but no less captivating, as if it guards this sacred city. Each step along the Avenue of the Dead echoes in the silence, as if the ancient walls whisper their secrets. Why was this grand city abandoned? Scientific research indicates that its creators remain unknown. They were not the Aztecs, as many believe, there are only hypotheses about what led to its decline. Some suggest that climate change or internal conflicts played a role. But what is truly astonishing is that the architects of Teotihuacan used complex geometric calculations to design the city with such precision that its layout reflects astronomical events. Studies have shown that some buildings are aligned with the paths of the sun and moon, inspiring both wonder and bewilderment. The wind that blows between the pyramids carries with it the scent of antiquity, and its sound, passing through the narrow alleys, creates a unique atmosphere, as if the city itself breathes. How could ancient civilizations achieve such heights in architecture and astronomy? This remains one of the biggest questions for archaeologists and researchers today. But what is truly shocking is that despite its significance, Teotihuacan was abandoned more than 1,000 years ago, and its mysteries continue to await discovery. In the jungles of Central America, one of the most mysterious stories of humanity lies hidden: the civilization of the Maya, which suddenly abandoned their magnificent cities. Imagine, in the period from the 8th to the 9th century AD, these meticulously built temples and plazas, once filled with the bustle of life, became deserted. The rustling of leaves envelops the abandoned pyramids, and the sounds of wild animals, now peacefully inhabiting the ruins, create an atmosphere of mystery. What happened to this people who reached extraordinary heights in astronomy and architecture? One of the most discussed theories suggests that a sudden change in climate and prolonged drought played a decisive role in the disappearance of the Maya. Studies of ice cores show that during that time, rainfall decreased by 30%, making agriculture virtually impossible. But that's not all. The depletion of natural resources, such as forests, which were cut down for construction and agriculture, led to a shortage of wood and materials. Unplanned wars between city-states added even more tension. How could the inhabitants, who once built magnificent temples and cultivated the land with skill, find themselves in a situation where their lives depended on resources that were exhausted so quickly? Social unrest, ignited by hunger and conflicts, became the final straw. The sense of desolation, when once bustling markets and crowded plazas were abandoned by people, can almost be felt instinctively. Today, walking among the ruins, one can imagine how the last time the solemn rituals were held, and how bitter the cries for help were. The ancient palaces, now shrouded in moss and vines, are silent witnesses to those tragic events. But know that archaeologists continue to find streets and buildings hidden under dense vegetation, leaving us with questions to which we have not yet found answers. Why did these people, who possessed knowledge of the stars and mathematics, not find a solution to survive? What role did internal conflicts play in this grand collapse? Research continues, and each new artifact can change our understanding of this mysterious era. In the Library of Alexandria, there were stored up to 700,000 scrolls. This was not merely a repository of texts, but a true temple of knowledge, where each word could open the door to new worlds. Imagine the rustle of papyrus scrolls under the hands of scholars, and the scent of parchment filling the air as researchers, under the soft glow of oil lamps, meticulously study ancient texts that could alter the fate of entire nations. It is worth noting that every ship arriving at the port of Alexandria underwent a thorough inspection. Copies of all the texts were made, and any text was considered worthy of attention. This was an endless pursuit of knowledge, where each letter held significance. Yet, as the library flourished, its fate remained uncertain, and various theories about its demise continue to spark debate among historians. The most well-known theory suggests that during the siege of Alexandria by Julius Caesar, a fire destroyed part of the library, burning scrolls and books that could never be restored. However, this is just one version. Another theory posits that the library was destroyed by order of Caliph Omar, who supposedly said, "If these books agree with the Quran, they are superfluous. If they do not agree, they are dangerous." Yet many historians argue that the library declined gradually, losing its treasures over many years until it became a shadow of its former glory. It is impossible not to envision how, in these walls where wisdom once reigned, now only the wind whispers of the past. And when you think that all of this has become part of history, Know that in the depths of ancient ruins, scrolls may still be hidden, waiting to be discovered, and perhaps among them are texts that will change our understanding of the past. For example, among those who explored tombs in 1931, several scientists and archaeologists suddenly became victims of strange ailments, leaving behind only mysterious records of their findings. Have you ever wondered what ancient cities that connected different cultures might have looked like? In Mexico, there is the ancient city of Mérida, whose architecture reflects the influence of many civilizations. Walls surrounded by dense jungles conceal unique elements that are difficult to attribute to any single style. Imagine temples built in the classic Maya style, with their characteristic staircases and carvings, alongside elements from the Toltecs, who brought their intricate patterns and lines. This mix creates a sense that each building is a page in a book where the histories of different peoples intertwine. The mystery of Mérida lies not only in its architecture, but also in its role as a significant trade and cultural center. Here, merchants from different corners of Central America crossed paths, making it a key link in the exchange not only of goods, but also of ideas. But that's not the most astonishing part. During excavations, artifacts such as pottery with characteristic Olmec symbols and ornaments were found, clearly indicating distant contacts with other regions. For example, among the finds were obsidian artifacts, which were mined in mountains far from Mérida, as well as Peruvian pottery, suggesting possible connections with southern neighbors. And that's where it gets really extraordinary. The sounds of the tropical forest, the rustling of leaves, and the cries of exotic birds create an atmosphere where you feel that every stone remembers stories from 1,000 years ago. Picture merchants discussing their business, scholars exchanging knowledge, all against the backdrop of ancient walls that seem to have witnessed many epochs. Majestic pyramids towering above the jungle appear alive, as if they hold secrets waiting to be revealed. And the most extraordinary thing? Some believe that the statue was not just an idol, but a symbol of the strength and unity of the people of Rhodes. And here's something even more astonishing. The statue could have been restored if not for the decline in technology and resources. Legend has it that the Hanging Gardens of Semiramis were not just gardens, but a true wonder, capable of captivating anyone who approached them. Imagine the high terraces, each rising several meters, covered with exotic trees and flowers, creating the sensation of a living green tapestry stretching towards the sky. These terraces, supported by massive columns, evoked the grandeur of ancient architecture. Every detail was meticulously crafted to achieve harmony and beauty. But how could they function in the hot climate of Mesopotamia? The secret lay in a complex irrigation system that lifted water from the Euphrates, ensuring constant moisture for the plants, which, according to legend, emitted fragrances that could outshine even the most expensive perfumes. Picture this. A warm breeze brings with it the scent of jasmine and roses, while the air is filled with the melodious sound of water flowing through stone channels, creating a sense of coolness on a hot day. And here arises the question, did these gardens really exist? Despite their fame as one of the 7 wonders of the world, archaeologists have yet to find definitive remains of the structure, leading to heated debates about the reality of this wonder. Some researchers believe the gardens may have been a figment of imagination, created to glorify Semiramis and her reign. What if they were not in Babylon, but in another place, hidden from the eyes of historians? New hypotheses continue to fuel interest in this mystery. Imagine if you could see these gardens with your own eyes. Green vines hang from the terraces, and in the shade of the trees, exotic birds hide, their feathers shimmering in the sun. Scholars continue to study ancient texts and artifacts, trying to unravel this enigma of where these magnificent hanging gardens were located. And the most intriguing part? However, what is truly astonishing is that extensive research continues to reveal new details that could change our understanding of these ancient signs, and perhaps soon we will learn more about their true meaning. Imagine a civilization that reached the pinnacle of development and then vanished, leaving behind only mysteries in its ruins. The Minoans, who lived on Crete, constructed palace complexes that included sophisticated water supply and sewage systems, a true marvel of engineering for their time. Their vibrant art, adorned with frescoes depicting marine creatures and flowers, testified to a high level of culture and aesthetic appreciation. The Minoans actively traded with neighboring peoples, creating a powerful maritime empire, but all of this was destroyed by a catastrophic event. There is a theory that a volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini around 1600 BCE caused a tsunami that devastated the coasts of Crete, wiping out fleets and ports that sustained trade. Picture the roar of the eruption, as rivers of lava and clouds of ash blotted out the sun, and waves as tall as a 3-story building washed away once thriving cities, leaving behind only chaos and panic. But this is not the only theory. Some researchers propose that the Mycenaeans, seizing upon the weakening of the Minoan civilization, invaded and conquered lands rich in resources. Internal social conflicts and power struggles could also have played a role in the decline of this remarkable culture. Additionally, climate changes caused by volcanic activity could have led to crop failures and famine, further weakening the economy. The Minoans, who once lived in harmony with nature, found themselves trapped in a catastrophe that destroyed their world. Many of these knowledge were recorded and preserved, despite centuries of oblivion. The Sumerian civilization emerged in Mesopotamia so suddenly that it appears almost mystical. Around 4,000 years before our era, city-states began to hum along the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates, seemingly appearing out of nowhere. These people, who called themselves blackheads, brought with them not only complex architecture, but also a unique form of writing, cuneiform, which allowed them to record everything from trade agreements to epics about gods. And here's the most fascinating part. The Sumerians believed that their knowledge and achievements were gifts from the Anunnaki, mysterious beings they believed descended from the heavens. These beings became the founders of their culture, leaving behind a wealth of myths and legends. But don't think that's all. The Sumerians reached extraordinary heights in astronomy, creating calendars that accurately predicted the movements of celestial bodies. They knew about planets that cannot be seen with the naked eye, and their research preceded modern discoveries by many millennia. Imagine the rustling of reeds along the riverbanks, and scribes sitting under palm trees diligently scratching records of stars that twinkle like a navigational compass on their sky. Each symbol created by a stylus opens a door to a world where astronomy and mythology intertwine, creating a unique picture of understanding the universe. The Sumerians did not just observe the sky, they documented every aspect, creating precise tables of planetary movements. For example, they knew about the 5 planets visible to the naked eye and could even predict solar eclipses. These knowledge was so important that they allowed them not only to manage agriculture, but also to influence political decisions based on astronomical observations. Despite primitive tools and methods, ancient physicians performed miracles, saving lives and alleviating suffering. It's intriguing to consider how their practices have influenced modern treatment methods. In the jungles of Costa Rica, hidden are mysterious stone spheres that captivate the imagination with their size and perfection. These spheres range from several centimeters to 2.5 meters in diameter and can weigh up to 16 tons. The primary material they are made of is granodiorite, but what is truly astonishing is their shape, which is so close to an ideal sphere that it is hard to imagine how ancient craftsmen could have achieved such precision without modern technology. Do you know what they might have been created for? Some researchers suggest they could have been astronomical markers used to track celestial bodies, while others believe they were symbols of status or even navigational aids for ancient travelers. But that's not the most peculiar thing. The spheres are arranged in specific geometric patterns that resemble ancient astronomical systems, and researchers are still puzzled about how they were connected. Imagine the contrast between the symmetrical man-made forms and the chaotic vegetation. The atmosphere is such that each touch on these spheres seems to open a veil into the past. Have you ever wondered how such massive objects could be moved through the jungle, where every path has been worn over centuries? Some scientists even propose that the spheres could have been part of a ritual system connected to nature worship or ancestor veneration. And here's where it gets really strange. Some of the spheres bear mysterious signs that could indicate their purpose or serve as ancient writings. They may never have been built, but their legend lives on in the hearts of people, inspiring endless admiration and a desire to uncover the mysteries of the past. On the remote island of Easter, surrounded by the boundless waters of the Pacific Ocean, stand the mighty statues of Moai, reaching heights of 10 meters and weighing up to 80 tons. Imagine these stone giants, carved from volcanic tuff, with massive faces and long noses, silently gazing at the oceanic expanses, as if guarding the secrets of millennia. Their expressive features and stern lines exude an atmosphere of grandeur and mystery. How were these monumental statues transported from the quarries to the shore? The answer to this question is shrouded in many hypotheses. Some researchers suggest that logs were used as rollers, allowing the statues to roll along the ground. Others claim that the Moai could walk by rocking, a laborious but effective method that enables them to move short distances by hopping from one point to another. The sound of ocean waves crashing against the cliffs creates a mystical atmosphere, emphasizing the isolation of this place. The wind caresses the stern faces of the statues, leaving traces of time and weather, adding to their allure. The places where the Moai stand are filled with a sense of mystery. Silence reigns, broken only by the sounds of nature. Each step on the island reminds one of its rich history and culture, which seems to have been lost forever in the vast expanses of the ocean. But what if I tell you that some archaeologists suggest that the mysteries of the Minoans may be linked to the legends of Atlantis? At an altitude of 3,800 meters in the highlands of Bolivia, there are mysterious sun gates, a majestic portal carved from a single andesite monolith, weighing around 10 tons. The height of the gates is 3 meters, and the width is 4 meters, making them an impressive sight against the backdrop of the surrounding landscapes. In the center of the bas-relief, a mysterious god with rays is depicted, whose face, full of wisdom and strength, draws the attention of researchers and tourists. But this is just the beginning. Scientists propose that this monument has a deep astronomical significance. Did you know that the sun gates could be markers for the equinoxes and solstices? The orientation of the gates is so precise that on the summer solstice, the sunlight passes through them, creating an effect that is breathtaking. This is not just an architectural structure. It is an astronomical instrument that the ancient inhabitants used to track time and the change of seasons. Around the central figure, there are mysterious symbols that have not yet been deciphered. They include images of animals and geometric patterns that may have had ritual significance. Imagine the sunlight piercing the thin air of the highlands, creating a play of light and shadow on the ancient carved surfaces. This space is filled with a sacred atmosphere where each stone can tell its own story. Local legends say that the sun gates were a place of worship where people gathered to honor the sun god and perform important rituals. What is even more intriguing is that there are 2 deep cuts on the gates, which researchers suggest could have been used for installing astronomical instruments. This opens new horizons for study. How exactly did ancient cultures use such technologies to synchronize their agricultural cycles with the movements of celestial bodies? With each new discovery related to the sun gates, we delve into a world where science and myth intertwine, creating unique stories about the past. Intriguing, isn't it? Imagine the sun's rays piercing through the massive stone walls of the Abu Simbel temple, and only twice a year, during the spring and autumn equinoxes, this monument is illuminated in such a way that the statues of Pharaoh Ra, Amon-Ra, and Ptah come to life in the soft light. This effect is achieved thanks to the incredible precision of the temple's orientation, built 3,000 years before our era. The sounds of awestruck whispers fill the space as modern viewers watch this magical spectacle, and it seems as if history itself comes to life around them. In Chichen Itza, when the sun reaches its zenith during the equinoxes, an illusion of a slithering snake appears on the steps of the Kukulkan pyramid, as shadows cast by the stone blocks create a writhing effect. This phenomenon, which occurs twice a year, attracts thousands of people who stand in awe as the light plays on the surface of the pyramid, as if bringing to life ancient legends about a divine serpent-like being. Stonehenge, built around 5,000 years ago, is no exception. Its massive megaliths are precisely aligned with the sunrise on the summer solstice. At this moment, viewers feel as if the world around them freezes and the shadows of the giant stones stretch out, creating an atmosphere of mystery and grandeur. Each stone seems to tell its own story, and the warmth of the morning sun fills the space, making people feel connected to their ancient ancestors. These examples demonstrate how deeply ancient cultures were connected to astronomical events. They did not just build temples, they created entire cosmic mechanisms that allowed them to interact with the sky. And the most astonishing thing? Some of these structures still remain mysteries to contemporary researchers, who strive to unravel their secrets and understand how such precise calculations could have been made without modern technology. This translation maintains the style, tone, and factual information of the original Russian text, ensuring that it sounds natural and fluent in English. Did you know what ancient texts from different cultures have in common? They often describe flying chariots, piloted by deities that leave traces of awe and alarm. Vedic texts mention vimanas, flying machines that appear as gleaming vehicles capable of swift air travel and producing sounds like thunderous roars. The Bible speaks of a chariot surrounded by fiery light, evoking a sense of divine intervention. Sumerian tablets describe God's chariots descending from the heavens, their descriptions filled with vivid details: bright light, wind that made grass tremble, and loud noise, as if the very earth shook at their approach. But what if these descriptions are not just myths? Erich von Däniken, in his book Remembering the Future, proposed that these accounts could be memories of contact with extraterrestrial beings who used advanced technologies to interact with humanity. He argues that ancient people might have interpreted these technologies through the lens of their time, creating myths about gods and their chariots. However, there is an opposing view. Many scholars believe these descriptions are metaphorical explanations of natural phenomena like lightning or hurricanes, which ancient people couldn't comprehend. They used available imagery to explain what they saw and created mythological constructs that were passed down through generations. Now imagine ancient people standing on the ground, witnessing these chariots, feeling the wind stirred by their movement, and hearing the thunderous sound that echoed across the land. It's astonishing that such complex structures, preserved to this day, remain a mystery to scholars. Only a small fraction of them have been explored, leaving us to speculate about the many secrets that may still lie hidden within the depths of Cappadocia. In the Atacama Desert, where the scorching air dances with shadows, a colossal geoglyph known as the Giant of Atacama sprawls across the slope of a hill. Standing at a height of 119 meters, it majestically gazes upon the world, much like an ancient sentinel guarding the secrets of the desert. This anthropomorphic drawing, composed of dark lines, stands out sharply against the light background of the earth, creating a contrast that takes one's breath away. Created around 2,000 years ago, the Giant of Atacama raises many questions about its purpose. Some researchers believe it could have been an astronomical marker used for observing celestial phenomena, while others suggest it may have symbolized a deity associated with fertility. Intriguingly, some theories even propose that it might have served as an indicator of water sources, vital for the ancient inhabitants of this arid region. Imagine the ancient peoples gathering at the foot of the hill, perhaps offering gifts and worshipping this giant, leaving their messages for those who might see them from above. These lines were laid out with such precision that they remain visible even through the centuries, preserving the history and beliefs that have endured through many generations. The Atacama Desert, with its lifeless expanses and extreme temperature fluctuations, creates an atmosphere where time seems to stand still. As the sun rises, its light outlines the contours of the giant, emphasizing its grandeur and making one ponder the thoughts and ideas that drove its creators. Research shows that geoglyphs like this could have served not only as visual landmarks, but also as spiritual symbols reflecting the connection between people, nature, and the heavens. Each movement of the stars and planets was perceived as a message requiring attention and understanding. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Ancient civilizations had many more secrets hidden in the stars. Once upon a time, in the harbor of Rhodes, there stood the Colossus, a statue that impressed everyone who approached the island. Imagine, the height of this bronze giant reached 33 meters, almost like a 10-story building. The bronze surfaces, reflecting the sunlight, sparkled and gleamed, creating an effect that could even astound the most experienced sailors. The statue was erected on a massive stone base, adding to its majesty and power. The Colossus was built in honor of the sun god Helios, and its purpose remained a mystery to many. Could this statue have served as a lighthouse, guiding sailors to the safe entrance of the harbor? Some historians claim that the light from torches placed at the top could illuminate the path for ships at night, while the sound of waves crashing against the giant's base created an atmosphere filled with grandeur and might. The construction of the Colossus began in 280 BCE and took about 12 years. This was a project that required enormous resources and skill. The bronze used for the statue was obtained from military spoils, and it is estimated that more than 100 tons of metal were needed for its construction. Every detail was carefully planned, from the pose of the Colossus to its intricate features. Its appearance featured clear lines that emphasized its musculature and power, as well as elements reflecting ancient Greek culture and art, making it unique. However, in 226 BCE, a powerful earthquake struck the island and brought down the statue. The Colossus stood for only 16 years, but its legend lived on. Memories of it were preserved in works of art and texts, inspiring generations. The remaining parts of the statue lay on the ground for many centuries, reminding us that even the most magnificent creations can be destroyed by nature. Did you know that the Colossus was even included in the list of the 7 wonders of the ancient world? Its grandeur and mysteries continue to captivate researchers. Imagine crystal skulls so perfect that they could fool even the most discerning experts. These artifacts, discovered in Central America, evoke associations with mysterious rituals shrouded in myths about ancient cultures that possessed knowledge beyond our reach. The polishing of these skulls is so flawless that light passing through the transparent quartz is refracted into extraordinary patterns, creating the illusion that something is moving inside them. The cold crystal in your hand feels like a piece of ice, and the empty eye sockets of the skull, directed at the observer, give the impression that they can see through time. But what lies behind these enigmatic objects? Some researchers claim that these skulls are ancient artifacts with mystical properties passed down through generations. They refer to legends that these skulls can heal and predict the future. However, there are other opinions. Many experts believe these to be skillful forgeries from the 19th century, created to attract tourists and enthusiasts of the mysterious. How can one explain the anatomical precision and detailed nature of these skulls? For instance, one found in 1930 has dimensions almost identical to a human skull, and its shape perfectly matches the anatomy. But what is truly astonishing, while some claim these skulls were created using technologies unavailable to modern man, others point to traces indicating they were made with tools known in the 19th century. The intriguing play of light inside the skull, reflecting off its surfaces, creates the sensation that it holds secrets and mysteries waiting to be revealed. Often, these skulls become the center of debates and discussions, and each new artifact discovered by archaeologists adds more questions to the existing ones. Their origin remains unclear, making them even more fascinating for researchers and enthusiasts of the mysterious. How many more such skulls lie hidden beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered? Ultimately, how much more do we not know about Nefertiti's life and her influence on ancient Egypt? Ancient Egyptians believed that life did not end with physical death, which is why they created the Book of the Dead, an extraordinary collection of spells and instructions designed to help the soul navigate the dangers of Duat, the afterlife. This book contained magical formulas that guided the deceased towards Osiris, the god of the afterlife, where the heart of each person was weighed on the scales of Maat against the feather of truth. If the heart was lighter than the feather, the soul could enter the fields of Ialu, a place of eternal bliss, reminiscent of an oasis where green and tranquility reigned. However, the path to this paradise was fraught with trials. The soul encountered demons that tried to stop it and traversed labyrinths filled with traps and deceits. What is most astonishing? To protect against these dangers, amulets and statuettes were placed in tombs, serving as guides and protectors in the afterlife journey. The solemnity of the funeral rituals was an integral part of this belief. Imagine processions where priests, dressed in white robes and carrying torches, illuminated the darkness of the burial chambers, creating an atmosphere of sacred respect. Mummies, wrapped in thousands of meters of linen cloth, served as reminders that preserving the body was the key to eternal life. Each body was placed in rich tombs filled with gold objects, jewels, and even food, so the deceased could enjoy them in the afterlife. Funeral rites lasted for several days, during which friends and relatives brought offerings to the gods, hoping to ensure the deceased's protection and blessing on their journey. And when the torches began to flicker and the scent of incense filled the air, the spirits of the ancestors, perhaps, watched from above. In each spell of the Book of the Dead lay magic that promised to protect the soul from all difficulties, giving ancient Egyptians the feeling that the afterlife was not just a dream, but a reality that could be achieved if one followed the right path. And the most intriguing thing is that these discs still await their full revelation, leaving behind many unanswered questions. It's hard to believe, but the stoneworking technologies of ancient Egypt often seem fantastical, as if from another world. How could they create perfectly smooth surfaces from granite, which is a 7 on the Mohs scale of hardness, and diorite, which reaches an 8? These materials were so hard that even modern equipment sometimes cannot achieve the same level of precision. It is known that the Egyptians used copper saws and abrasive sand, but how did they manage to achieve such perfect right angles and cylindrical drillings with minimal deviations? Imagine the gleam of polished granite, reflecting sunlight so that it seems to glow. The smoothness of these surfaces has endured for millennia, inspiring awe in researchers and archaeologists. When you tap the stone, it produces a clear sound, as if it's not just a stone, but something more complex, making you ponder the depth of their craftsmanship. There are various theories explaining these technologies. Some researchers suggest that ancient craftsmen used abrasive sand mixed with water to create cutting tools capable of handling hard materials. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. What's even more astonishing? There are hypotheses about the use of sound technologies. Yes, you heard it right. Some scientists believe that the ancient Egyptians could have used sound vibrations to break stone. This may sound like science fiction, but such ideas open the door to new research. So how did they achieve such results? One method could have involved the use of copper drills with abrasive inserts, allowing them to create cylindrical holes up to 1 centimeter in diameter. This process required incredible precision and skill, which is difficult to reproduce even today. In some cases, researchers noted that the holes drilled in the stone were so precise that they formed perfect circles, raising questions about how this was possible without modern technology. How did they process basalt, which is a 6 on the Mohs scale of hardness? This material was also used in construction, and its processing left traces that can still be seen in surviving monuments. Moreover, some of these structures were so complex that their creation required not only knowledge of stone, but also an understanding of the physical properties of materials. Over time, interest in these technologies has only grown. Did you know what Stonehenge is? It's not just stones. It's a mystery that has intrigued minds for centuries. These massive megaliths, weighing up to 50 tons, were transported from distances of up to 240 kilometers, raising the question, how did ancient people manage such a task without modern technology? Each stone, carefully selected and placed, seems to whisper tales of rituals and astronomical observations. Some researchers suggest that Stonehenge could have been an ancient observatory, where astronomers tracked the movements of the sun and moon. On certain days of the year, when sunlight passes between the stones, something magical happens. Light embraces the stone blocks, creating an unforgettable atmosphere. What if it was a place of healing? According to ancient legends, people came here to be cured of illnesses, believing that the stone's energy possessed healing powers. And here's where it gets really strange. Wind passing between the stones creates a melody, as if the stones themselves are singing songs about time and space. The coolness emanating from these ancient boulders seems to transport you to another era, making you wonder what secrets they hold. The astronomical alignment of the stones is so perfect that it continues to amaze scientists. They point to significant sunrise and sunset points. The most astonishing thing? Some researchers even claim that Stonehenge served as a calendar, allowing people to track the seasons and perform important rituals at the right time. But that's not all. There are theories that the stones were part of a larger complex that connected various sacred sites. How was this monument actually built? The secrets of its construction remain unsolved, and each new discovery only adds more mysteries to this story. But what if I tell you that in some cultures, these observatories were used for predicting eclipses and other celestial phenomena? This is truly breathtaking. Queen Nefertiti, renowned for her extraordinary beauty, seems to have vanished from historical accounts, leaving behind only mysteries. She played a significant role in the religious revolution of her husband, Pharaoh Akhenaten, who transformed ancient Egyptian religion by replacing the pantheon of gods with the worship of a single god, Aton. It is intriguing that images of Nefertiti often depict her with a majestic head and an eccentric crown, which attest to her influence during that time. However, after the 12th year of Akhenaten's reign, her name and images begin to disappear, as if they were erased from the face of the earth. Scholars have proposed numerous theories regarding her disappearance. Some believe she may have perished from an epidemic, and if so, what horrific disease could have taken such a charismatic figure? Others suggest she could have been banished from the court, replaced by another wife, or even taken a new name and ruled as a co-regent, possibly under the name Smenkhkare. If this were true, how could she have hidden from history? The search for her tomb has been an odyssey for archaeologists, and many have dreamed of unraveling the mysteries surrounding her life and death. It is noteworthy that one of the most intriguing discoveries is the mummy known as the Younger Lady, found in a tomb believed to belong to Nefertiti. Research indicates that the mummy could belong to a woman who died around the age of 20. But what if this was indeed her? What was her fate, and what truly happened in the final years of her life? The enigmatic circumstances of her disappearance raise many questions, and each new discovery only intensifies the intrigue surrounding this mysterious queen. The Great Sphinx of Giza, measuring 73 meters in length and 20 meters in height, stands sentinel over the mysteries of the ancient world, like a majestic giant awaiting comprehension. Carved from a monolithic limestone, this monument was created around the 3rd millennium BCE, when human technological achievements were at their peak. But why was such a colossal statue built? Some researchers suggest that the Sphinx could have been a guardian of the necropolis, protecting the final resting places of pharaohs and their secrets. Others believe it symbolized a solar deity, capable of bestowing life and fertility, while others propose that its location was tied to astronomical events, serving as a marker for observing the movement of stars. But there's more. Ever heard of the Dream of Thutmose? Legend has it that Pharaoh Thutmose IV, sleeping at the Sphinx's feet, saw in a dream that the statue commanded him to clear it of sand. This event sparked its restoration and led to excavations that altered our understanding of ancient Egyptian culture. Yet beneath this enigmatic creature's paws, there may lie something even more extraordinary, hidden chambers that remain unopened to this day. Imagine the interplay of light and shadow on its face at different times of day, revealing the cracked stone that holds the history of millennia. Each whisper of the wind around it evokes a sense of antiquity, as if the Sphinx itself breathes, reminding us of the distant days when its creators gazed upon it with awe and fear. These stones are not merely lifeless, they hold the breath of history, waiting to be remembered. And what's most intriguing? Some researchers believe that this is not the only statue, and beneath the sands of Giza, there may lie even more magnificent structures that could redefine our understanding of ancient Egypt. Research indicates that these caves could have housed not only artists, but entire communities that gathered here to exchange knowledge and rituals related to water and the sea. Have you heard that the Maya determined the length of the solar year with an accuracy of up to 20 seconds? It's incredible, but they not only created complex calendars, but also used observations of celestial bodies to predict significant events, such as solar and lunar eclipses. In their temple observatories, where silence reigned, the night sky was studded with stars, and each observer felt awe at the grandeur of the cosmos. The Babylonians, in turn, developed a system for predicting lunar eclipses based on lunar cycles, allowing them to accurately determine the moments of eclipses. Their astronomical tables, preserved on clay tablets, contain data on the motion of planets and stars that still impress modern scientists with their accuracy. Imagine the builders of New Grange, who created a structure illuminated by the sun only on the winter solstice. Millions of people gathered there to witness how the sun's rays penetrate the sanctuary, creating a magical atmosphere. But that's not all. Did you know that the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient device created in the 1st century BC, allowed for the calculation of the motion of celestial bodies with remarkable precision? This mechanism was found on a shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera and remains a mystery to historians and archaeologists. Its complex gears and systems demonstrate that ancient peoples possessed knowledge that was ahead of their time. Each element of this device was calculated with mathematical precision, allowing us to infer a deep understanding of astronomy and mechanics among its creators. But did you know that in ancient times people used not only mechanical devices, but also star observations to determine time and the time of sowing? The silence of the temples was broken only by the whisper of astronomers, carefully studying the celestial body that seemed to breathe in unison with them. Over 300 such spheres have been found in Costa Rica, and each one holds countless mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Wouldn't you like to know what else is hidden within these stone giants? Under the waters off the coast of the Bahamas lies a mysterious structure that raises many questions. Imagine rectangular blocks, perfectly stacked on top of each other, forming something resembling a road or a wall. The width of this formation exceeds 12 meters, and its length exceeds 30 meters, leaving researchers baffled. Are these the remnants of an ancient civilization, or simply the result of natural geological processes? Some believe it could be part of the lost Atlantis, which scientists and adventurers have long sought. Scientific debates have intensified since the early 20th century, when Edgar Cayce predicted that the remains of Atlantis would be found in this area, and that this would open the way to new knowledge about ancient cultures. But that's not all. In the sunlight filtering through the transparent water, you can see seaweed swaying around the stone blocks, creating an atmosphere of magic and mystery. Some researchers have attempted to analyze these stones, and their results showed that the age of some of them may exceed 10,000 years. What is even more shocking? The structure was discovered at a depth of about 5 meters, making its natural formation impossible, given the sea level at that time. But perhaps it is just a random collection of stones. Or were these the remnants of a great civilization that left us clues about its existence? Each new day brings something new. Underwater archaeologists continue to explore this site, and every pebble or shell could be a key to the mystery. The Sphinx, with its enigmatic gaze that pierces to the very soul, may be much older than we typically assume. Geologists studying the erosion marks on its body claim that these signs, reminiscent of prolonged rainy periods, could indicate climate conditions characteristic of the region more than 10,000 years ago. Imagine the heavy rains that once swept through these lands, washing away sand and shaping the soft contours of the granite body that today seems immutable. These traces, like ancient manuscripts, tell of a time when the Earth had different weather and different creatures. The astronomical alignment of the Sphinx with the constellation Leo in the era of 10,500 years before our time adds another layer of mystery to its origins. What vision could his stone eyes have captured when he gazed at the night sky, filled with stars that we can barely distinguish today? Light and shadow play on his face, highlighting each wrinkle and crack, as if he holds within him a silent grandeur that is not subject to time. These details create an atmosphere where past and present intersect, and you feel the ancientness seeping into every cell of your being. But that's not all. Numerous theories about how and when the Sphinx was built continue to baffle scientists and travelers. Some researchers suggest that its construction could be linked to an unknown civilization that existed long before known historical periods. What is even more astonishing? Recent archaeological discoveries in this area suggest that beneath the sands lie other monuments that could provide us with keys to solving this mystery. These images vividly paint a picture of mysterious phenomena that could have left their mark on human culture. And the most astonishing part? Some texts mention that these chariots could not only fly, but also disappear as suddenly as they appeared. On the map created by the Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis, coastlines are depicted that, seemingly, should never have been known in his time. The enigma lies in the fact that this navigator, living in the 16th century, used sources that, according to him, were lost and dated back to the time of Alexander the Great. His map clearly shows the outline of the Antarctic coast, which has been hidden under an ice cover for centuries. What is truly astonishing is that modern research shows that the outline drawn by Reis matches contemporary maps made using underwater laser scanning. How is this possible if the ice cover has occupied this area for many centuries? This map is not the only one that raises questions. There are also other ancient maps, such as those by Claudius Ptolemy, which show territories that were not open to Europeans until the beginning of the great geographical discoveries. Imagine that some of these maps depict not only coastlines, but also inland lands that, according to scholars, were known only to local tribes. Remarkably, maps created in the Middle Ages also mention islands that were discovered only in the 20th century, such as islands in the Pacific Ocean, which were found only thanks to modern technologies. How could Admiral Piri Reis possess such precise information if the sources he referred to were lost? This raises even more questions about the geographical knowledge that humanity had long before our era. In some cases, analysis shows that these maps used methods that had been forgotten for centuries. What is even more astonishing? Some scientists suggest that these maps could have been created based on ancient maritime voyages about which we know almost nothing. For example, the Mercator map also contains mysterious elements that do not correspond to the known geographical data of that time. But if you think that's all, then there are even more amazing discoveries waiting to be made about the mysteries that these ancient artifacts hold. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, the archaeological record is filled with Cro-Magnons, people who created art that even contemporary masters find astonishing. Imagine the flickering light of primitive lamps in the dark depths of caves, casting shadows on damp walls where red and black paints formed realistic animal images. These drawings did not merely capture the surrounding world, they conveyed the spirit of the time, creating a link with our ancestors across millennia. How did such skills emerge among people who had no apparent predecessors? No primitive drafts or evolutionary transitions, just suddenly, true artists, masters of their craft. Cro-Magnons used eyed needles for sewing clothes, which was a technological breakthrough in itself. These needles allowed them to create insulated garments that protected them in cold conditions. Harpoons for fishing and atlatls, spear throwers that increased the range of their throws, indicated a high level of hunting skills and an understanding of physics. How were such achievements possible? The question remains open, but the mystery of the Cro-Magnons only deepens our interest in their culture. Each discovery, whether a sculpture or a musical instrument, tells a story about the deep inner world of these people. How could it be that they created instruments capable of producing melodies as pleasant as modern ones? These masterpieces found in caves seem to whisper that even in ancient times, people sought ways to express themselves. Historical records mention that some of these cave paintings have such fine details that one can distinguish every muscle of the depicted animal. But that's not all. Some caves housed real art galleries that had been hidden for thousands of years, waiting to be discovered. And the most intriguing thing is that some of these works of art are dated to more than 30,000 years ago, challenging all our notions of human cultural development. Each step through the Temple of Hathor is a step into a world where science and myth intertwine, creating a unique atmosphere of antiquity, filled with mysteries and enigmas. Among the artifacts of the Quimbaya culture from Colombia, golden figurines have been discovered that evoke genuine interest and surprise. Their shape resembles modern airplanes. These small items, crafted from pure gold, have triangular wings and a vertical stabilizer, giving the impression that ancient jewelers were trying to depict something capable of flight. When viewed under museum lights, the gold's brilliance is blinding, highlighting the elegance of the lines and the skill of the craftsmen who created these enigmatic objects. It is intriguing that when these figurines are scaled up to create models, they result in aerodynamically stable structures, raising many questions. Did ancient people possess knowledge of flight, or were these merely stylized images of birds or insects? Some interpretations suggest that these golden airplanes could symbolize something divine, perhaps a connection to the heavens, while others propose that they were part of rituals related to nature. Imagine these figurines in the context of ancient ceremonies. They were worn as amulets, emphasizing status and connection to higher powers. An air of mystery surrounded them, as the technologies used in their creation seemed primitive compared to the futuristic design of the artifacts themselves. Compare these golden figurines to modern airplanes. There is something about their shape that stirs the imagination and raises questions about their origin and purpose. One of the most shocking theories suggests that such objects could be evidence of lost knowledge of flight. Research indicates that models created based on these principles could indeed fly, meaning that ancient craftsmen may have intuitively understood the physics of motion. These golden airplanes seem to bridge the past and future, prompting reflection on the depth of knowledge possessed by ancient people. Soon, a new study may emerge that will change our understanding of this mysterious formation, and we will learn what secrets the ocean floor holds. Imagine a palace that, in its complexity and labyrinthine nature, could inspire a legend about the labyrinth of the Minotaur. The Knossos Palace is exactly such a place. With its multi-level structures rising to several floors, it contains more than 1,000 rooms connected by intricate corridors where one can easily get lost. These corridors hide not only rooms, but also mysterious corners, where once the voices of courtiers echoed and life was in full swing. The palace's engineering systems were so advanced for their time that they provided not only ventilation, but also water supply, elegant underground channels and drainage systems that still astound researchers today. Vibrant frescoes depicting scenes from the life of the Minoans animate the walls, as if telling stories of festivals and rituals connected to the cult of the bull, which held great significance in Minoan culture. At the heart of the palace lies the throne room, where a throne carved from stone, believed to have belonged to the king himself, still stands. It is intriguing that storage rooms filled with pottery and grain, where complex resource management was conducted using the Linear A script, a system of writing used for record-keeping, are also located here. Light filtering through light wells creates a unique interplay of shadows and light, while the scent of the sea, carried through open courtyards, fills the air with freshness. The sounds of palace life, footsteps, laughter, conversations, echo through the corridors, giving the impression that the walls remember every moment. But do you know that there are also mysterious underground tunnels beneath the palace? The fact that once thriving centers are now reduced to ruins is astonishing. Imagine the majestic ziggurats rising skyward like staircases leading to the heavens. Some of them reached a height of 90 meters and were constructed from fired brick, adorned with glazed tiles that shimmered in the sun. Their distinctive stepped form not only captivated attention, but also served as a symbol of the connection between the earthly and the divine. From the upper platform of a ziggurat, one could enjoy a breathtaking view of the surrounding city, where houses and streets appeared like toys amidst the vast fields and rivers. As the sun set, long shadows were cast on the ground, creating an atmosphere of mystery and grandeur. But what was the true purpose of these monuments? Some researchers believe that ziggurats were temples where priests performed rituals dedicated to the gods, while others suggest that they served as astronomical observatories from which stars and planets were observed. No less intriguing is the theory that ziggurats could have been shelters during floods, when rivers overflowed and threatened the lives of the city dwellers. Additionally, there is a theory that they symbolize the world mountain, the center of the universe, where the gods resided. As one climbed the monumental stairs of a ziggurat, There was a sense of approaching the heavens, as if each step brought one closer to the unknown heights. These steps, paved with smooth stones, seemed to whisper of ancient secrets hidden within their reduced scale. And the most astonishing fact? For example, they knew when to expect a solar eclipse with an accuracy of a few days. The highlands of Bolivia conceal a secret that challenges everything we know about ancient civilizations. Puma Punku. Imagine massive stone blocks, weighing up to 800 tons, fitting together so perfectly that not even a knife blade can be inserted between them. These colossal boulders, made of durable andesite and granite, have smooth surfaces and precise right angles that even modern builders using advanced technologies find astonishing. How did ancient people manage to work such hard material with such precision? This remains a mystery. But there's more. Many blocks bear intricate carvings and projections that seem to have served for connecting stones with metal clips. These clips, made of an unknown metal, raise the question, who placed them there and when? Strangely, there are no written records of the construction of Puma Punku, leaving room for numerous theories, from extraterrestrials to lost technologies. The place is shrouded in an unusual silence. The air is thin, and the majestic ruins, as if guarded by spirits, stand against the backdrop of the mountain landscape. The rough and inhospitable terrain starkly contrasts with the incredible precision of the stonework, creating an atmosphere of mystery and awe. Local legends tell that Puma Punku was built not by humans, but by deities who descended from the heavens, and perhaps this explains such extraordinary achievements. It is intriguing that some blocks are as large as modern buses, and their complex arrangement on the platform is astonishing. How could such giants be moved and placed with such precision? This place, full of questions and enigmas, continues to attract scientists and history enthusiasts from around the world, eager to unravel its secrets. The question of what technologies were used to create these maps remains open, which means that there are still many mysteries waiting to be revealed. Baghdad Battery. Imagine a vessel that could revolutionize your understanding of ancient technologies. This clay container, dating back approximately 250 years before our era, contains a copper cylinder with an iron rod inside. But how could such a simple device be a source of energy? Studies show that if filled with an electrolyte, such as grape juice or vinegar, it can generate a small voltage, reaching up to 1 volt. This seems incredible, but experiments confirm that the ancients could have used this artifact for various purposes. Do you know that one theory suggests the Baghdad battery could have been used for galvanization, meaning it could give metal objects a more attractive appearance by coating them with a thin layer of precious metal? But the practical applications are not the only thing that interests researchers. Some suggest that this vessel was used for medical purposes, creating a mild tingling sensation that the ancients might have felt when in contact with the working device. Picture a dull metal object in the hands of a healer or priest, becoming an instrument of healing or even a religious ritual, causing miracles in the eyes of the faithful. The weight of this artifact, held casually in the hand, emphasizes its antiquity and significance. And if we consider that the ancients might have been aware of the potential danger and power of electricity, this opens a new chapter in our understanding of their knowledge. But that's not all. There are speculations that similar devices could have been part of a more complex system used for creating electrical charges in ritualistic purposes. All this leads us to ponder. What else is hidden in the mysteries of antiquity, waiting to be discovered? Somewhere in the heart of Cappadocia, hidden deep within the earth, lie subterranean cities that can even astound the most seasoned travelers. Some of them extend to depths of 20 levels. These catacombs, carved into soft volcanic tuff, create a unique atmosphere. Cool air that greets you upon entry, and muffled footsteps echoing off stone walls, as if inviting you into another world. Inside, you can find a complex infrastructure, ventilation shafts that provide fresh air even at the deepest levels, wells for water, and massive stone doors that protect it against enemies. But what were these remarkable structures built for? One theory suggests they served as sanctuaries from enemy armies, allowing entire communities to hide underground. Meanwhile, Other researchers propose that these cities were also used for storing and producing wine. Imagine the finest elixir maturing in the cool tunnels, requiring countless hours of labor. But there's more. Some scientists believe these subterranean cities could have been religious centers, places where people sought solitude and connection with the divine. The flickering light of torches reflecting off tough walls creates a magical illumination, imbuing the entire space with a sense of mystery. These underground labyrinths could have housed thousands of people, providing them with protection for many years. Scientists still debate how the ancient Egyptians could have achieved such results. And the most intriguing thing? None of the found tools provides a definitive answer to this question, leaving many mysteries and theories waiting to be uncovered. Imagine that on different ends of the planet, during an era when travel between continents was impossible, pyramids were built that are remarkably similar to each other. In Egypt, Mesoamerica, and even in China, monumental structures stood, each connected to cosmic symbols and solar cults. The most intriguing aspect is that these pyramids are not mere copies, but reflections of shared ideas that seem to have emerged independently, yet are remarkably similar. For instance, the Pyramid of the Sun in Tenochtitlan in Mexico has dimensions comparable to the magnificent Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, which stands at 146 meters tall, with a base twice as large as its Mexican counterpart. But this is not the most peculiar thing. In China, on the Lunshan Plateau, archaeologists discovered pyramid-like structures that could rival their Egyptian counterparts, despite the distance of tens of thousands of kilometers. How is this possible? One theory, diffusionism, suggests that ideas and technologies could have been transmitted between civilizations through trade or migration, although proving this is quite challenging. Now imagine there is a hypothesis about an ancient mother civilization from which all others borrowed their knowledge. This hypothesis raises many questions. Did a highly advanced culture once exist, leaving its mark on all continents? Even more intriguing is that in many ancient mythologies, from Sumerian to Native American, the theme of a great flood appears. This parallel raises questions. Could ancient peoples share not only building technologies, but also legends that seem to arise independently? For example, the flood myths of the Sumerians and the Bible, as well as those of the Maya, describe similar events, as if these stories intersected in some cultural space. Additionally, symbols of the sun, such as circles and spirals, find their reflection in the cultures of different peoples, from ancient Egyptians to the Incas. These symbols are not just decorations, but deep philosophical ideas that connect people regardless of their geographical location. How is this possible? Some researchers believe this could be related to common human instincts and observations of nature. Recall how technologies for metalworking emerged in different cultures around the same time, which also raises questions about possible contacts or shared sources of inspiration. Compare, for example, the construction technologies in ancient Egypt and ancient China. Both cultures used complex methods, including hoisting mechanisms, leading to the creation of extraordinary architectural forms. The most astonishing thing is that these statues were created to honor ancestors, and each one bears a profound meaning that remains a puzzle for scientists and researchers. Imagine an ancient world where sages observed the stars and attempted to unravel the mysteries of the universe. They already knew that the Earth was not flat, as many believed. As early as the 6th century BC, the Pythagoreans began to propose bold ideas about the spherical shape of our planet, basing their hypotheses on the harmony they saw in nature. Aristotle, who lived in the 4th century BC, not only supported this idea, but also provided several proofs. He observed the shadow of the Earth on the Moon during eclipses, which always had a circular shape, and noticed that as one traveled south, constellations visible in northern latitudes disappeared from view. These observations helped him conclude that the Earth could not be flat. But this was just the beginning. Eratosthenes, who lived in the 2nd century BC, made an even more impressive discovery. He measured the angle of the falling sun's rays in different cities and, using simple geometry, calculated the circumference of the Earth with remarkable accuracy at 21,400 kilometers. This knowledge was passed down through generations among educated people in ancient civilizations such as the Egyptians, Indians, and Greeks, who understood that the Earth had a spherical shape. They watched ships disappear over the horizon and understood that this happened due to the curvature of the planet. In their view, the starry sky rotated around the North Star, creating a sense of constancy and order in the chaos of the world. This gave them confidence that the Earth held a special place in this grand scheme. An important point was that in most civilizations, the knowledge of the Earth's sphericity was not considered sacred, but rather a natural result of observations and reflections. Furthermore, in ancient Rome, scholars like Pliny the Elder repeatedly mentioned the shape of the Earth, basing their work on the writings of their predecessors. While in other parts of the world, the belief in a flat Earth prevailed, in these intellectual circles, there was already a broad understanding of its true nature, which left a deep mark on history. Isn't it fascinating? The legend of the lost Atlantis has captivated researchers and adventurers for millennia. Imagine the roar of the sea waves covering the mystery, and the salty sea air permeating every corner. The first mention of the mysterious island state is found in the dialogues Timaeus and Critias by the philosopher Plato, written over 2,400 years ago. He describes Atlantis as a powerful civilization that, according to him, was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, in an area that is now part of the Atlantic Ocean. But where could it have been? Research on this question continues to this day, and each new discovery can change our understanding of this mythical land. One of the most popular hypotheses points to the Mediterranean Sea, where some researchers suggest that the island could have been near Santorini, which suffered catastrophic volcanic erosion. Others insist on their version, believing that Atlantis could have been in the vast expanses of the Atlantic Ocean, where, in their opinion, its remains are still hidden. What else might be hidden beneath the surface of these endless waters? And if we look into the North Sea, there are also contenders, including islands that could have been part of this great civilization. But that's not all. Some researchers even claim that Atlantis could have been in the Caribbean basin, where underwater research has shown the presence of ancient structures that could be the remnants of the architecture of this legendary civilization. And here things get really wild. There are even theories linking Atlantis to Antarctica, claiming that under the ice cover lie traces of an ancient civilization of which we are not even aware. What might be hidden in these icy depths? With each new research, new horizons open up, and the sound of the waves continues to echo, as if the ocean itself is whispering its secrets to us. The myth of the lost Atlantis not only inspires researchers, but also raises many questions to which there are still no answers. What were the true achievements of this civilization? What technologies did they use to conquer the sea? And the craziest thing is, perhaps on the ocean floor, there are still artifacts that once belonged to this great culture, waiting for their moment to be discovered. And what is even more astonishing, some spells included instructions for transforming into other beings to deceive enemies in duat. Secret societies have always drawn attention to themselves like a magnet, and their influence is still felt today. For instance, the Eleusinian Mysteries, which took place in ancient Greece, were not just religious rites, but genuine immersions into the mysteries of life and death. These initiation rituals included ceremonies that could last for several days, involving complex symbols and gestures. And what about the Pythagorean Union? They not only engaged in mathematics, but also explored philosophical aspects of existence, using strict oaths of silence to protect their knowledge from the uninitiated. Participants gathered in dimly lit halls, illuminated only by torchlight, where every gesture held deep meaning, and passwords were whispered, linking generations. The cult of Mithras, in turn, plunged its adherents into a world of mysterious rituals, where sacrifices and initiations were integral parts of their practices. Complex multi-level systems of initiation required participants to undergo not only physical, but also spiritual preparation. These knowledge systems encompassed a wide range of topics, from astronomy, which allowed for the study of celestial bodies, to medicine, which could cure diseases. But what is most captivating is the sense of belonging to something greater than just knowledge. When seekers of truth gathered under the stars, they felt an invisible thread connecting them to ancient civilizations, transmitting secret knowledge that had been preserved for centuries. the images we see might be just the tip of the iceberg, hiding a multitude of unsolved mysteries. In the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, there are images that cause one to ponder. These are elongated objects, remarkably resembling incandescent lamps, with internal elements resembling wires and connections that can be imagined as a power source. These bas-reliefs, executed with extraordinary detail, spark debate among scholars and researchers. Some claim they are evidence of electricity in ancient Egypt, while others interpret them as a symbolic representation of the lotus flower, associated with the rising sun, emphasizing the importance of this flower in the spiritual life of the Egyptians. What is even more intriguing? Scientists have discovered gilded artifacts that also suggest the ancient Egyptians had extensive knowledge in chemistry and electricity. For instance, in some tombs, paints that have remained unchanged for over 3,000 years were found, and their composition remains a mystery. Imagine the soft light of the temple falling on these enigmatic bas-reliefs, creating an atmosphere where ancient secrets seem ready to unfold. It appears that the Egyptians possessed knowledge that modern scientists still do not fully comprehend. In every detail of these images lie secrets that could change our understanding of ancient civilizations. For example, some researchers believe that such images could have been used to convey knowledge about light phenomena, rather than just serving as decorative elements. And the most fascinating part, in some texts, chemical reactions are mentioned that could explain possible light sources. How exactly they obtained light that could illuminate their temples remains a question that still does not have a definitive answer. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Do you know that after a thorough analysis of these bas-reliefs, traces of metals such as copper and gold were found? These discoveries raise even more questions about the technologies that could have existed at that time. Some ziggurats had internal chambers used for storing sacred objects and could have been connected to rituals about which we can only speculate. Did you know that ancient engineers created water supply systems that would astound even modern specialists? Roman aqueducts, stretching for tens of kilometers, used gravity to transport water from mountain sources to cities, and their heights reached 30 meters in some places. Imagine the sound of water flowing through arches of sturdy concrete, which still stand as a testament to engineering genius. Mohenjo-Daro, one of the earliest cities of the Indus civilization, had a complex sewage system with thousands of years ago, featuring drains that connected toilets and kitchens to central sewers. These sewers were large enough to carry water, and their design ensured cleanliness, which was a marvel for its time. Additionally, the Cretan water pipes, made of terracotta, supplied households with fresh water, and their connection system was so well designed that it ensured a steady flow even during dry seasons. And here's where it gets really interesting. Minoan toilets, equipped with a flushing mechanism, were the first of their kind in the world. Imagine how they worked, creating comfort that many could only dream of. In Rome, public baths became the center of social life, and their architecture, with its vaulted spaces, created echoes when grand columns reflected the sound of conversations and laughter. The coolness of the underground cisterns, where water was collected, contrasted with the heat of the dusty streets, creating an oasis amidst the bustle. The purity of the flowing water in these water supply systems was not just a source of pride, but also a necessity for life, as the filth of the streets posed dangers that could threaten health. What's even more astonishing? Did you know that in Peru there are lines that are not just drawings, but actual giant geoglyphs, visible only from a bird's-eye view? The Nazca lines, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, contain images of animals such as hummingbirds, monkeys, and even giant spiders, reaching lengths of 370 meters. These figures, drawn on the ground, were created by removing the top layer of earth, exposing the light sand underneath, and have been preserved for centuries thanks to the dry climate of the region. Imagine the scorching heat of the desert, with temperatures reaching 40 degrees Celsius. The hot wind rustles the sand, and the all-encompassing silence emphasizes every detail of these mysterious drawings. But how were they created with such incredible precision? Scientists suggest that the ancient inhabitants of Nazca used simple but effective tools, such as ropes, to control distances, allowing them to draw perfect lines and figures. Incidentally, some of these geoglyphs are not just decorative, There are numerous theories about their purpose. Some researchers believe they could have served as a calendar, indicating important astronomical events, while others suggest they were maps of water sources, pointing to places where life could be found in the lifeless desert. There is even a theory that these lines represented ritual paths leading to sacred places or messages to the gods directed towards the heavens. What's even more astonishing? Each geoglyph was created with such meticulous care and attention to detail that they can only be seen from a height, leaving modern scientists with many questions about how and why they were created. What else does this mysterious battery, standing at the intersection of science and magic, hide? In the caves of Liguria, located on the northwest coast of Italy, mysterious cave paintings were discovered, depicting strange figures that resemble modern-day submarines. These images, dating back approximately 30,000 years, were found in places with cool air and dimmed light, creating an atmosphere of mystery and intrigue. Consider how the stone walls keep their secrets, and shadows play on the surface as you try to discern shapes that could be echoes of ancient technologies or simply stylized depictions of boats and marine creatures. Some researchers suggest that these figures could have been part of rituals connected to water, while others propose more fantastical theories that our ancestors might have possessed knowledge that we are not even aware of. These images could be evidence that ancient people observed the behavior of marine animals and tried to capture them in art. But how could they create such detailed and complex forms? Ponder how they could have seen the underwater world when there were no modern-day instruments for exploring the depths of the sea. Additionally, the relief images are up to 2 meters in length and richly adorned with geometric patterns, indicating a high level of artistic skill. Some figures appear as if they are about to emerge from the surface, while others resemble entire underwater ecosystems teeming with life and movement. This creates the sensation that you are not just in a cave, but in a real underwater kingdom, where each image awaits its story to be told. What is even more astonishing? Few people realize that the ancient Romans invented concrete that not only withstood the test of time, but became a true marvel of engineering thought. This concrete, produced with the addition of volcanic ash, possessed an extraordinary property. It could harden even underwater. Imagine the builders of that time working fearlessly in rivers and on coasts, creating structures that still amaze with their strength and longevity. Aqueducts stretching for tens of kilometers not only supplied cities with crystal-clear water, but also served as masterpieces of architectural genius. The sound of water flowing through stone channels created a melody that can still be heard in some corners of Italy. Thermae, luxurious communal baths, were true oases, where residents could enjoy coolness even on the hottest days. Inside the baths, the air was filled with the aromas of oils and herbs, while smooth marble surfaces seemed to invite touch. These engineering marvels had a heating system known as hypocaust, which warmed the floors, creating a comfortable atmosphere. Roman roads, paved with stone, connected cities and ensured swift transportation of goods and people. Many of these roads, laid with such precision that they can still be used today, owe their longevity to the incredible strength of Roman concrete. But that's not all. The unique formula of Roman concrete, containing marine lime and volcanic ash, made it more resistant to corrosion and even to the effects of salt water. This explains why some structures, such as the Pantheon, dating back to the 1st century AD, still stand majestically, with a dome 39 meters in diameter, one of the largest in the world, built without the use of supports. And what is truly remarkable, Roman concrete continues to strengthen over time, thanks to chemical reactions occurring within its structure. Imagine Roman engineers, using simple tools, creating structures that still awe architects and builders of today. These technologies, seemingly lost to the past, continue to inspire and amaze. For example, in the 21st century, scientists study the secrets of Roman concrete to create more durable materials for modern construction. But did you know that some of these ancient technologies are already finding application in modern cities? Have you ever wondered what secrets might be hidden in these unlit corners, where echoes of the past still resonate in silence? Long before astronomy became a science, people were already constructing complex structures for observing celestial bodies, and one of the most striking examples is the Gösek Circle in Germany, dating back to around 4,900 years before our era. This Neolithic monument consists of a system of concentric circles made of earthen banks, surrounded by wooden posts and palisades, which created precisely oriented passages for observing the sunrise and sunset on key days of the year. Imagine the ancient observers gathering at these banks in the pre-dawn silence, as the world is still asleep, waiting for the moment when the solar disk appears exactly in the opening between the massive structures. Each year they mark the solstices and equinoxes, synchronizing with the cosmic cycles that seem to govern their lives. But the Gösek Circle is not the only such monument. Stonehenge in England, built around 3,500 years ago, also served as an astronomical observatory, with its stone blocks precisely aligned to track the sun's movement. And let's not forget Newgrange in Ireland, constructed about 400 years later. Its corridors and chambers are perfectly aligned to allow sunlight to enter on the day of the winter solstice. What about the Mayan observatories like Uxmal and Chichen Itza, where astronomers observed stars and planets, creating calendars with remarkable accuracy? These structures not only served as instruments for observation, but also connected people with the cosmos, allowing them to feel their connection to celestial cycles. Imagine the ancient people's awe when the sun rose above the horizon, its rays piercing the darkness, and the air filled with anticipation of a new day. Some of these systems still function today, thanks to the reliability of their designs. In the mountains of Dropa, where the darkness of caves conceals many secrets, granite discs with diameters of about 30 centimeters, central holes, and spiral grooves reminiscent of mysterious micro-engravings were discovered. These artifacts have been a mystery since their discovery in 1938 by archaeologist Chi Pute. As soon as they fell into the hands of researchers, extraordinary theories emerged, some of which claim that these patterns contain information about the crash of a spaceship. Imagine isolated mountain caves where every sound echoes endlessly, creating an atmosphere of mystery and anticipation. But what is shocking? Many scientists consider this story a hoax, urging caution in interpreting these findings. The spiral patterns, which could be simple natural formations, raise questions. Were they created by human hands, or are they the result of random processes? Some researchers even suggest that these disks might serve as ancient maps or indicators, hinting at something beyond the physical world. The feeling of touching something potentially extraterrestrial fills the air when you consider what these artifacts could reveal if they could speak. Each disk, with its mysterious symbols, seems to whisper about distant times and extraordinary events that took place in the past. And even if some consider this a forgery, the mystery remains alive, sparking interest and the desire to unravel it. What were the true intentions of those who created these disks? Perhaps they are just a product of nature, or perhaps they are the key to understanding something much greater. Imagine a black basalt stone that became the key to deciphering the mysterious language of ancient Egypt. This is not just any stone, but the Rosetta Stone, inscribed with 3 identical texts in different languages: ancient Greek, Demotic, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. Its dimensions are almost 1 meter in length and about 70 centimeters in width, with a weight exceeding 1,700 kilograms. The rough surface of the stone, marked with signs, seems to have frozen in time, giving the impression that touching it is like touching history itself. And then there is Jean-François Champollion, who, like a true detective, begins to unravel this mystery. He spent a long time studying ancient texts, but it was the Rosetta Stone that became his lucky break. By comparing the texts, he finally deciphered the hieroglyphs, and this happened in 1822. Champollion discovered that hieroglyphs could represent not only sounds, but entire words, which was a breakthrough in Egyptology. But that's not all. Thanks to his work, the world learned about the great achievements of the ancient Egyptians in architecture, medicine, and astronomy. Each letter, each hieroglyphic inscription on the Rosetta Stone opened doors to a world about which contemporaries could only guess. For example, the stone noted that Ptolemy V became king at the age of just 12, underscoring the traditions of rule in Egypt. And thanks to this artifact, historians were able to restore an entire epoch and understand how people lived and thought thousands of years ago. What's even more astonishing? Champollion used methods that were completely new for his time. He applied a phonetic alphabet to decipher the hieroglyphs, which became the basis for further research. Now, when we see signs on the walls of temples or in tombs, we understand that behind them are not just pictures, but entire histories filled with mysteries and knowledge. It was like opening a portal to a world where gods and people coexisted, where every word had meaning, and every phrase could convey the philosophy of an entire nation. And when we look at the Rosetta Stone, we do not just see a piece of rock, but the embodiment of the efforts of many generations of scholars striving to understand and preserve the heritage of ancient civilizations. And when you think you know everything about this mysterious civilization, remember that the Sumerians were the first to divide time into 12 months and 28 days, the foundation of all modern calendars. Imagine reading an ancient text that describes radiant weapons capable of producing light brighter than 1,000 suns. This is not just a metaphor, but a description that evokes a sense of awe with each word. In the Mahabharata, we encounter moments where the use of this mysterious weapon rendered food poisonous, and survivors lost their hair and nails, as if it were not just a battle, but a catastrophe that left an indelible mark on humanity. How is this possible? Vedic texts mention flying machines called vimanas, which could travel through the sky faster than any modern airplane. These machines are described as magnificent, with metallic bodies and capable of covering great distances in mere seconds. But that's not all. In China, there were mirrors used for transmitting images over long distances, akin to modern communication technologies. How could they do this? Imagine the contrast that people reading these words would feel between the archaic language and the modern technological concepts we consider achievements of the 21st century. These ancient references to advanced technologies make us question how close humanity might have been to understanding concepts like energy, light, and speed. Each sentence, each paragraph raises questions like, what if they knew more than we think? These texts, filled with mysteries, leave us only hints of technologies that could have changed the course of history. These secret passages may have connected the palace to the surrounding territory and played a significant role in rituals related to the bull cult, leaving behind many questions about what other secrets this ancient complex still holds. Imagine thousands of years ago, Earth encountered beings with technologies far beyond human capabilities. The theory of paleocontact suggests that ancient civilizations could interact with extraterrestrial entities, explaining many mysteries of our history. For instance, petroglyphs found in various parts of the world depict figures resembling astronauts, with characteristic helmets and spacesuits. In places like the Nazca Desert in Peru, giant geoglyphs visible only from above could be evidence of ancient technologies designed to attract the attention of extraterrestrial observers. Do you know that in Vedic texts there are mentions of vimanas, flying machines that could travel through the air and even into space? These descriptions raise curiosity. Were they just myths or real memories of interactions with other civilizations? The Maya also left us figures resembling astronauts, with unusual headgear and strange gestures that could be interpreted as attempts to carve their encounters with aliens into stone. Now imagine this. Medieval frescoes in Europe depicting flying saucers hovering above the Earth raise questions about how people of that time perceived these phenomena. Some researchers claim that the sudden emergence of complex civilizations like the Sumerians or Egyptians could be linked to the influence of extraterrestrial beings. These civilizations possessed knowledge in astronomy and mathematics that seems too advanced for their time. But what is truly intriguing is how ancient people might have perceived such encounters. Perhaps in their minds, feelings of awe and fear before the unknown would arise. They might have seen the aliens as gods descending from the heavens, bestowing divine qualities upon them and creating myths around their appearances. However, the scientific community is skeptical of these theories. Many researchers believe that the existing evidence is insufficient to confirm contacts with extraterrestrial civilizations. They argue that many of these interpretations can be explained by cultural and historical contexts, rather than supposed visits by aliens. Nevertheless, the mystery remains. If these are just myths, how can we explain such incredible coincidences in various cultures around the world? And here is where it truly gets interesting. Each stone here speaks of the fact that ancient masters possess knowledge and skills that still elude our understanding. Along the banks of the Indus River once stood a city that could rival any modern metropolis, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Their unique layout with a clear grid of streets continues to amaze. Imagine streets paved with bricks, up to 8 meters wide, with courtyards and public buildings between houses. A unique sewage system, running under each house, prevented flooding and ensured cleanliness, something modern cities can only dream of. Standardized measurements and weights used in trade indicated a high level of organization. However, what is shocking is that even this advanced civilization was vulnerable to catastrophic changes. Changes in river courses due to natural disasters could have cut off people's water sources, and climate changes, likely leading to droughts, could have left fields barren. But that's not all. Theories of Aryan invasions and epidemics add new layers to the mystery of their disappearance. In Mohenjo-daro, a citadel stood above the city, possibly serving as a gathering and defense point, but even it couldn't halt the decline. The Great Bath, measuring 30 by 20 meters with a complex water supply system, once served as the center of public life, where people gathered for rituals and socializing. Imagine the bustle of crowded streets, where merchants hawked their wares, and the air filled with the scents of spices and fresh fruits. But gradually, the streets became empty, and the houses filled with sand and silence. Remarkably, some scholars suggest that this entire civilization could have vanished in just a few decades, leaving behind only mysteries waiting for researchers. What do you think really happened to these great cities? Excavations continue, and each year brings new discoveries that only add more mysteries to the history of this fascinating city. Did you know that the Aztecs created not one, but 2 calendars that worked in tandem? One of them, the ritual calendar Tonalpohualli, lasted 260 days and was used to determine ceremonies, holidays, and rituals. This calendar was based on a cycle that combined 20 signs and 13 numbers, allowing for 86 unique combinations. While Tonalpohualli linked time with religious practices, the solar calendar Xiuhpohualli lasted 365 days and determined the agricultural cycle, planting and harvesting times. But that's not all. Both calendars were combined into a complex cycle of 52 years, the completion of which was marked by a ceremony of fire renewal. Each time this cycle ended, the Aztecs experienced genuine panic, fearing that the world might come to an end. Imagine, in the dark of night, priests lit new fires on the chests of victims to ensure the continuation of life and the prosperity of the people. The rhythmic flow of time in Aztec society was tied to meticulous observations of stars and planetary movements. They could predict solar and lunar eclipses, allowing them to accurately determine the most important moments in their lives. Complex ceremonies dedicated to these astronomical phenomena confirmed their connection to the cosmos and their religious beliefs. Some of these ceremonies lasted entire days, including dances, sacrifices, and feasts. The Aztecs used the calendar not only for practical purposes, but also as a means to understand their place in the universe. Each day had its own significance, its own deity, and its own rituals. And the most amazing thing? Thanks to their precision, the Aztecs could predict astronomical phenomena with an accuracy that would astound even modern astronomers. But did you know that in Tiwanaku, there are also other mysterious structures that could enhance our understanding of ancient civilizations? Did you know that trepanation of the skull was practiced even in the Neolithic period, and many patients survived this procedure? Archaeologists have found skulls with clear signs of healing, indicating a high level of surgical skills at that time. Imagine an ancient physician, armed with primitive tools like stone or bronze drills, carefully drilling a hole in the patient's skull. The sound of the tool hitting the bone could be terrifyingly loud, and the hard skull could be an insurmountable barrier. Yet, amidst the sounds of scraping and the scent of medicinal herbs used as anesthetics, there was hope for recovery. Remarkably, in ancient Egypt, Medical papyri contained recipes based on plant components used to alleviate pain and promote healing. These texts mentioned herbs like opium and mandrake, creating an atmosphere of mystery and magic around medical practices. Once, in Pompeii, surgical instruments were found that were remarkably similar to modern ones: scalpels, clamps, and even forceps used for removing foreign bodies. These discoveries show how far medicine has advanced and the rich experience accumulated by ancient surgeons. But what is even more astonishing? Ayurvedic medicine, originating in India, employed complex diagnostic and treatment methods, including massage, oil therapy, and special breathing practices. Physicians of that time believed in the balance between body, mind, and spirit, adding depth to their practice. The sensation of warm oils and herbs being applied was not just physical, but also spiritual.